How's it going, Webheads? My name is Ryan Walsh, and welcome to Webhead, where I keep you guys up to date with all of the latest in geek entertainment. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 20 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies with Ant-Man and the Wasp just coming out. I definitely want to get my ranking up onto YouTube while I'm actually away on a cruise right now. So when you're seeing this, I'm actually not home at all, and I actually am filming this right after I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp. So this is just something that I really wanted to put up for you guys so that I don't miss an entire week of not uploading it all. But let's get into this entire video, and starting off at number 20, I have Thor: The Dark World. Definitely the biggest disappointment in the MCU. When I first saw the movie, I thought it was actually really good, and then I actually watched it a couple more times and realized, oh crap, this actually isn't that great. So that's why it's at number 20. Just everything's disappointing. Loki was the only thing, in my opinion, that's really good about this movie. Villain stinks. Thor isn't that great, and then I hate how they keep going back to Earth. Just keep it in space. At number 19, I have Iron Man 3. Now, I was just really disappointed with this movie, how they kind of did the big twist. Definitely something that splits fans in half, where some people did like the twist of the Mandarin actually not being the Mandarin. I personally just didn't like it, and I just didn't feel like this was an Iron Man movie. It felt more like just a different kind of comic book movie, and I just feel like this wasn't the Iron Man that the MCU established thus far. At number 18, I have Iron Man 2. Now, Iron Man 2 definitely was a good addition to the Iron Man franchise. This, however, is not a bad movie at all. The only movies I don't really like are the previous two I just mentioned, but this movie I still think is pretty good. Whiplash could have been a lot better of a villain. Definitely was that MCU standard as a villain, just not that great. War Machine, good addition, but halfway through this movie it just kind of gets boring and a little dull, and I think that this movie was really just rushed, and they definitely should have taken a little bit longer to actually make this movie as good as it could have been. And number 17 is The Incredible Hulk. I definitely like this movie a lot more than most fans do. I know a lot of people hate this movie. I think this is a really good Hulk movie. I think they did a great job, and I really like Edward Norton in the role of the Hulk. Abomination was an awesome villain in my opinion. I really liked seeing Abomination on screen for the first time, and then General Thunderbolt Ross I thought was handled really well. So I thought this movie actually was pretty good. And number 16 is Avengers Age of Ultron. I personally am not the biggest fan of this movie, but it was still a pretty decent movie. I did really like how they introduced the Vision in this movie. I really like how the Avengers would just team up. You just got that team up right at the beginning of the movie. I liked everything about it except for just Ultron. I just didn't like Ultron at all. I didn't think he was that great of a villain, and I was expecting a lot with Ultron, and I definitely was very much let down with the villain of this movie. But still, overall, it's still a pretty good movie. At number 15 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Definitely a big step down from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I feel like there wasn't really a big overall plot that they really were going by. I felt like it was really just the entire Guardians joking around the entire movie. There wasn't really one clear narrative. I thought it was just kind of like they're doing whatever, and you're just kind of doing an adventure with them. You don't really know what's going to happen. But they definitely capture the group comedy and just everything great about the Guardians in this movie. And then Ego was pretty cool villain. I think he's actually probably one of the most horrific villains. Not saying that he's a bad villain, but just saying what he did was really bad. And I think that's actually something that's really cool within the movie. At number 14, I have the original Kenneth Branagh Thor. This definitely was a great addition to the MCU, especially when it came out, introducing just all of Asgard, all the 9 realms, and I think they did a really good job with this movie. A lot of people were mad that it wasn't more cosmic, but I think for what it had to be and where they were going with the entire franchise to the Avengers, he had to be Earth-based because you have to introduce that he now has a connection with Earth and why he's going to be coming back to Earth to get Loki. So I think they did a really good job actually grounding this movie and making it really cool and seeing exactly how powerful Thor is and why he actually is the God of Thunder and why he's actually worthy of the hammer. At number 13 is Captain America: The First Avenger. I absolutely love this movie. I really do. Does it get a little boring at times? I guess, but I'm definitely in the minority when it comes to this movie. I think they really captured the golden age of Captain America in this movie. I really like how they did the Red Skull. They could have really failed with Bucky, but they actually made him really cool in the movie. And then Peggy Carter was a great addition as well. At number 12 is the original Ant-Man movie. Definitely a big surprise to me. I wasn't expecting a lot with this movie, but Paul Rudd in the role of Scott Lang Ant-Man definitely was awesome. I still wish they did Hank Pym, but I can't argue with this because they have Hank Pym and Scott Lang in this movie, and I just love how it's a very small movie, and it's probably the most self-contained MCU movie there is, and I like how it isn't like the world is gonna end at all. I think that's a really good element that it has with the movie. And number 11, just edging out the first Ant-Man, is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really liked everything about Ant-Man and the Wasp, especially how just like the dynamic between Ant-Man and the Wasp actually there was. You could definitely tell that they both were a team. I thought that was a great part of the movie, and I just loved everything about this. It was hilarious. I loved everything about the movie, and I really like how they actually put Giant Man in the movie. And then Ghost was actually a pretty decent villain, so everything all around definitely was really good, and I think it's a great addition and definitely edges out the first movie just a little bit. At number 10, I have Doctor Strange. Still love this Doctor Strange movie. Definitely one of the best MCU movies, and definitely makes sense that this is going to enter in the top 10. I think they did a great job of really just bringing in the mystical of the MCU within this movie, and I just love how they actually did the origin story of Doctor Strange, because it's definitely one of my favorite origin stories in all of Marvel Comics. At number 9 is Spider-Man Homecoming. All I gotta say is that this definitely was probably one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made, really just because they definitely captured the spirit and just what Peter Parker stands for within this movie, and how he's a high school kid. Loved everything about that. Iron Man was pretty good in the movie. I like how they didn't use him too much in the movie. And then Vulture was an awesome villain, one of the best in the MCU so far. At number 8, I have the original Iron Man, where it all started. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. is introduced in this movie, and I gotta say this is probably one of the best MCU movies just because of just Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark and how much it came by surprise. Nobody thought this was going to be an amazing movie, but yet it was. And Robert Downey Jr. definitely embodied the entire essence in what Tony Stark was and kind of made it his own in a way as well. So I just love this movie and everything about it. The villain could have been a little bit better, but I still think it's a pretty good villain. Definitely underrated as far as all villains go in the MCU. At number 7, I have Guardians of the Galaxy, the very first one, and I gotta say, Guardians of the Galaxy is just awesome. I literally was crying laughing from beginning to end. The soundtrack was amazing. Introducing all these characters together and having it actually be really good, like it really has a lot of heart in this movie. And then Ronan definitely was not the greatest villain, but I definitely like him more than most people. I'm just a huge fan of Ronan the Accuser, so I'm kind of a little biased there. But then also introducing this entire cosmic universe of the MCU and having actually done really well is incredibly difficult, and having a talking raccoon in a tree that says "I am Groot" work on screen, that is definitely a big achievement by the entire studio. At number 6, I have Captain America Civil War. Definitely was one of my most anticipated movies of 2016. I absolutely loved everything about the movie. That airport scene, I can't say enough about that. That was awesome. The introduction of Spider-Man within the MCU and Black Panther, both awesome characters. And then just Iron Man versus Captain America, what I wanted to see for a very long time since the first Avengers movie. So I just love how they put it together and made it a really good story. At number 5, what really cemented the entire cinematic universe in my opinion, the Avengers. This is what cemented everything, showing that they could take all these different characters, bring them together in one movie and make it work and make it a great movie. Definitely probably one of the best movies ever made in my opinion. I think this is a huge achievement by the whole studio and just everything they were able to do within the MCU. And I just love the entire team dynamic between all of them and how they all work together at the end of the movie, how they were against each other in the first half and then together in the end. I loved everything about the movie. It was awesome. At number 4, I have Thor Ragnarok. Definitely a big step up from the other 2 Thor movies. This is definitely where they took world of just Thor, turned it around, and actually made it even better than it already was. I definitely really liked that first Thor movie, that Kenneth Branagh Thor. The Dark World definitely was a huge step off, but then this brought it right back on there. Taika Waititi did a great job of directing this movie, and I just love how they actually put Planet Hulk in this and they had the gladiatorial battles. It was awesome, so that's why it's number 4 on my list. At number 3, I have Black Panther. Black Panther was probably one of the movies that I didn't really see this coming from a mile away. I thought this was actually just going to be a really good movie. I didn't think this was going to be a spectacular movie. I really was blown away by just the world of Wakanda and the entire cast, the story of this movie. I loved everything about it. and I just love Chadwick Boseman and Killmonger as well. Killmonger was awesome in this movie, one of the best villains, and Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther is just a perfect casting. I loved everything about the movie. At number 2, I have Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where they actually had the first Captain America movie and how they were just paying homage to the golden age of Captain America. Then they brought him into the Avengers. I thought Captain America was a little weak in that movie. I thought he wasn't really represented well, but then when they reintroduced him in The Winter Soldier and what the Russo brothers did to really reintroduce this character and make him awesome, that first scene where Captain America's fighting all those pirates on the boat, that was amazing. I absolutely love that scene. Probably one of the best scenes in all of the MCU. And then how they have actually Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, in this, and how they just did the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. Everything was amazing in this movie. I loved it so much. And now at number 1, I do not have the movie on me, but that is Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War still is my favorite out of all of the MCU movies. I really like the movie. Thanos, best villain by far. They showed everybody in this movie, every single MCU character except for a couple like Ant-Man and the Wasp, but they had almost everybody in this movie. They made it work, and they had like 2 giant battle scenes at the same time. The movie just blew me away altogether. But of course, Webheads, if you want more on the MCU, definitely check out the playlist I have below me that I put together for all of you guys, and definitely consider subscribing right over here to Webheads so you can get more on all geek entertainment. But of course, Webheads, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Bye-bye.